what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. It's your boy.
So Frank, this is the part of the show where we go to question and answers. I know you've been on for a while, so
also good.
You want to stay on with us and rock
yeah,
out for
man,
a little bit?
I'm on TV every day, man. So
all right, let's do it.
And I'm not even kidding, man. Y'all think I'm kidding? I'm not blowing smoke. I'm a fan. Like, I love what y'all are doing.
Appreciate it. Thank you, brother. Likewise.
Yeah, we'll get to the hip hop debate at the end of the
show.
I'm from Philly, man. So like, start there. You know.
All right, got you.
Yes.
Jan's got a plan. What's up?
What's going on?
Hi guys.
Look at this.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Got the hearts in the background.
Wow. All love.
Spread in the love. How's everybody doing? Hi, Frank.
Everybody.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Hi, Ian.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So let's get into questions, or you guys want me to give an update? I don't know. Hi, earners.
Yes, you could. Yeah, give me
what's up. What's going on?
Well, I don't have that much, but I will say today we had midday market updates with Lawrence, and we talked about option strategies. One was pre-market highs and lows, and if you get a breakthrough of one of those, maybe a call or put, going that way. So I really like that little tip. Drop some fire in the chat for the earners if you thought that was really helpful this morning. And then we're preparing the earners for a paper trading challenge that starts in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And although today's Valentine's Day, I also say Martin Luther King Day, Valentine's Day is also Black History Month. And we started a new book called Powernomics by Claude Anderson. So we're really excited about that too. Shout out to the book club.
Yeah.
That's actually perfect. We got to talk offline about that. That's actually, I didn't know you was reading that book, but that's actually.
Yes, that's our new book for the month. So shout out to the earners.
That's perfect.
Now I'm going to go to Arthur Andrews. He's the president of our political science club, and he told me he had to ask a question today. So we're going to go to him first.
Shout out to Arthur.
Yeah. He gets carte blanche over here.
Yes.
Peace. What's good, fellas?
My brother.
What's up, man?
How you doing? Hey, fellas, I'm gonna see y'all in London, man. Ian, I promise not to attack you, man. Just give me a dap. I'll leave you alone, brother.
No. You my guy. I love you, dealer. We can talk forever.
Frank, man, I appreciate having you on here. Appreciate the report and you exposing everybody to what's going on in our community. One of the questions that I wanted to ask, and the earners are very familiar about this because this is something that I harp on a lot, is that spending stat isn't something that's new. It's something that we've seen. If you go back to 2000, our spending was very high and we were still very low in terms of our assets, so on and so forth. I think what's part of the issue is the way that it's framed to our people is often misleading. And so in a sense, it's framed as though we're irresponsible with our spending, right? And mass, right? And so, however, when you look at how we actually spend our money, we actually spend our money very similar to everyone else. I always say the top 5 things that we spend our money on are housing, which is at 37%, transportation, 16%, food, 16%, savings and investments at 10%, and then healthcare at 5%. So literally 85% of our spending goes to what I call essential living needs. That we get a check, we have to pay for where we live, we got to pay to get to work, we have to feed ourselves, we save our money, and then we, take care of ourselves. We go to the doctor if and when we can. The difference that I find isn't necessarily that we're spending irresponsibly. It's that our asset class, our upper black asset class, we don't own any of those things that provide our essential needs. So our black upper class doesn't own the masses of affordable housing. We don't own any car companies. We don't own any grocery stores. We don't own any major healthcare companies, and we don't own any major financial investment institutions. So as a result, when we spend our money, we're forced to spend our money with other people because you see what I'm saying? And now at the same time, and I'm not here to knock anybody. Kudos to the success of those of us who are able to make it to the upper class. However, rather than trying to buy football teams, I would rather see us start a car company. Rather than us try to buy an NBA team, I would rather us see us buy start a grocery chain. because those are the things that then we could go in and support, because those are where we're spending the majority of our money.
Right.
So when we spend our money and it leaves our community and so, as they say, in 6 hours, it's not because we don't want to spend it with Black people. It's literally there's no one there Black for us to spend it with. And that's not the fault of a lower class citizen. That's not the fault of the middle class citizen. That's the fault of the upper class that have to channel their money and buy those assets that really matter, as opposed to buying a football team and then say, support Black because I got a football team. And then we're going to do that because our next thing that we spend our money on is entertainment. However, when we spend money on entertainment, we spend it on Black people. We support Black people when the opportunity is there. And so I think that part of the issue that we're having is the way it's framed is that if it's put out there and you're a low income or you're a middle class person, you could feel like, wow, what am I doing wrong? But you're looking around, you're like, man, I just paid my rent. You know, I want to get a loan, but there's the white bank won't give me a loan, but there's no Black guys who are willing to give me a loan. And in addition to that, the Black people are reluctant to even rent me a house. The Black guys who get houses, they're reluctant to accept my Section 8. They're reluctant to accept the single family mom because they think, you know, they look down upon them like the welfare queen, just like everyone else does. And so I would say to you, or my question is to you, how can we convince or how can we change that narrative? Because in your segment, you know, we have Rob Johnson, and kudos to him because Rob Johnson is a major affordable housing owner, as well as with Brian Hope, so on and so forth. But there are others out there that, you know, they're in the position to do those things. And it's always say, hey, man, I wish you guys would go buy more stocks. I wish you guys would go buy a house. And it's like you're in the position to provide that infrastructure, much like other communities, whether they did it by force, through redlining, so on and so forth. But that was their upper class forcing the situation for their middle class to be able to participate. The upper white class instituted the redlining so that the lower white class would be able to participate and become middle class. And I think that if we want to have these changes, if we continue to simply harp to our middle and lower class that you need to change your behavior, what we're going to ultimately do is you're going to drive very risky behavior from our middle and lower class citizens, because now they're going to say, well, I'm doing the responsible thing. However, you're telling me the responsible thing isn't working. And so now I'm going to go and I'm just going to throw all of my money in a meme stock, because that's what the rich guys do. They invest.
Can I ask a follow-up question for you? And you, my brother, so I love that we get to have this dialogue and people don't think we're debating. The same with me and Matt.
Oh,
when,
no, yes.
You know, I love you. You my
of
guy.
course, brother.
Ian, before you respond, Ian, because people are like, this is King Arthur. When we talk about day one EYL, that's who he is, right? So you can put a crown in the chat. This is King Arthur. There ain't no guidelines when it comes to this. This is our brother. When we talk about anywhere we go, Arthur,
these are all our conversations too.
He's the first person to show up. He's the first person to give guidance.
Extremely intelligent.
So, extremely intelligent. If you don't know, do the research.
He used to work on Wall Street. He used to be a risk analysis. What'd you do on Wall Street, Arthur?
No, I worked at market makers.
Market maker. He was a market maker on Wall Street.
The largest market maker. When ETFs first started, it was LeBrant Structured Products. We are on the American Stock Exchange. We are the largest market maker for ETFs.
Yeah.
But Ian, what were you about to say?
Go ahead, Ian.
And I understand that point, but when I'm just be honest.
Yep.
Let's do a poll. Put yes in chat if you guys that are watching tonight bank Black. I've had bank owners cry to me. Why the hell do they support Dogecoin? And even Black people have been convinced to buy apes from Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is a racist artistic structure, but then won't bank Black. Most of the entertainers that we support, they're not Black owned. Even the ones that say they're Black owned. We get a chance to sit in some of these meetings, they're not Black owned. So what is the solution? Because even with that, I don't want to pit the upper class versus lower. But if we are connectively, and this is my thing where I'm like, hey, let's just start with indexes. Because if we can do that, then we can go. And I'm gonna be real. Most people don't buy, y'all buy Gucci more than y'all do EYL merch. Why?
Wow.
I don't get that. That's weird because people actually vote. So I get to the point and the perspective, and this data comes out, and people are upset, and we're mad for that moment, right? Kind of like when your girl go off on you, like, you didn't buy me the flowers. That see what Troy did. He got off the plane and took his wife right to dinner. You should do that, right? You get mad for a day, make a change.
I'm a classic man. Come on,
right? But what do you do with your dollars? I'm gonna be real. Most people are not investing half of their money into the market or into the asset, and I think we have the power to do so.
You know what?
But
though?
I think
my bad.
Yeah. I think we have the power to do so, but we want the feeling of being okay or free versus the work that it actually takes to then be free. And I'm one of the person who came from the bottom, like, and it took me years to get to where I am now. It took me 14, 15 years to get to be able to sit at this peak and give this shit easily away. Most people don't want to they're seeing us out in LA and think we're partying. I am exhausted. It's all meetings. So what is the actual solutions outside of even having this bourgeois class versus lower? Because I don't even like that. That's not the real answer. But the truth is we're not investing enough. We're not building enough business.
Well, Arthur, let me chime in real quick, because I think what the question to Frank was like, how can it be framed in the mainstream media a little differently? And it is a valid. He actually made a lot of valid points. You made a lot of valid points, because even from me being a financial advisor, and once again going back to my career as a financial advisor, and all of the clients that I worked with, the clients that were just they didn't really have millions of dollars or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. They might not even have had a couple of $100 a month, but they wanted to do something. And the common denominator was that, they just wasn't making enough money. That's a conversation that we need to have as well, is because you're right. A lot of people rent, and the rents a lot of times are more expensive than a mortgage. And then, we have inflation, right? And it's like, I don't think the vast majority of Black people are foolishly wasting the vast majority of their money because they don't really even have an option. They're literally living, like, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you might be making some foolish decisions, but you're right. Most of the money is going to your bare necessities. And you just don't have enough money left over at the end of the month. And then your income is not increasing enough to really keep up. And you're just making less money as well. Hold on, Ian. So that's and that goes back to being a highly skilled worker, being an entrepreneur, different things. So it's a multifaceted conversation, but it is something that you do bring up a good point.
Absolutely.
That the data might be true, but it can possibly be reported a little differently to really highlight, okay, how do we get people to make more money?
Absolutely. I mean, King Arthur. I don't want to disrespect, man. I want to give correct titles. You know what I mean? King Arthur. One sec. Two things to it. Number one, it's a TV story. It can't get all the way down to the fine print on TV.
I understand that.
Yeah, but it's a fair question. One thing I think you want to consider is then why has the Latino community been able to build more wealth than us? Because they face a lot of the same hurdles. So some of it does come down to decisions. And Ian, again, don't know you that well, man. I grew up poor, you know what I'm saying? But it costs money to be poor. And people always forget that. And just like compounding, you put a little bit of money in, it grows. One bad financial decision snowballs. You make one decision with a credit card, your credit's bad. Now you got to pay more for everything. You know what I mean? So some of it is decision-making, but is the probably the biggest single factor systemic? Racism, systemic issues, absolutely. There's going to be a story you're going to hear next month about the gender pay gap. You're going to hear that it takes into March of 2022 for the average woman to make what a man makes in 2021. A couple numbers that don't really get talked about is that's the average. For a Black woman, it takes until August. That's a systemic issue.
No, true indeed. One of the things to your point about the Latino community, one of the differences between the Latino community and the Black community is that much of the growth in the Latino community comes from the fact that they have a base from back home, so they can come here, much like with the Asians. When they come to the community, they don't have to go to a bank to get a loan. They can go to their Asian community and literally get a loan from their Asian community. That's how Chinatown in New York grew and took over Little Italy. It wasn't that the Chinese were coming in and they were getting loans from Bank of America. They were coming in, and because they have a base back home in China, that base provides a lot of the loans and things. Black Americans don't have that, with the exception of if you look at the difference between Black Americans here versus Africans that come here, they tend to generate a little bit more wealth as well, because they tend to have a base. Caribbean families, when they move here, they also tend to have a base. It's not as significant as white families and Asian families, but they have a base that's stronger than the typical Black family to be able to get loans from, so on and so forth. So that, I believe, is part of the reason why you see the difference between us and why those other communities are able to advance. And just to make the point, Ian, I don't think it's about picking on the upper Black class, because it's not just their responsibility. It's just something about, like we always say, it's collaboration over competition, right? Absolutely. And so, but I think that our upper class is just as miseducated as the lower class as well. And so if the upper class feels that the lower class is making bad decisions because they just keep hearing that, they're going to treat them that way. And then they won't make the decision that they can make to be able to go on and be able to and be able to help them, because they think, in their mind, they think that the lower class is just making bad decisions, because sometimes there is a disconnect even within our own community. And just one thing I want to
let me just you making a we gotta give him a podcast.
That's what I said, man.
Yeah,
y'all should have did that last
year. King Arthur's Court. We already got the name.
I was advocating for that.
For the election. Deal. We gotta get this deal done. You make a you make a lot of valid points. Go ahead, Ian. Go ahead.
Can I chime in?
Raise your hand. Yes.
2 points. Basics. I want you guys to Google who came up with the advertising and marketing campaign for there to be essential spending and sales in the 1930s. Go talk to great grandma. There are no such things as essential or basics. Same way, for those of you that love bacon and eggs, for those of you who don't know, I was an advertising and marketing prior to this. Edward Bernays, which is a relative of Sigmund Freud, created that structure. Go look and see who made it like that for you to not work together, not collaborate, and then go spend your money. Because even the essentials and the basics that you buy, there is a for-profit, publicly traded corporation that benefits off of that brainwashing. Secondly, we are the only community that elects our entertainers and athletes to be the top tier to make decisions from us, and they're brainwashed by their ownership. So we have a trickle-down effect. So as you guys begin to champion other people and more intellectuals, you can see a shift who would then educate our community. And in 10 to 15 years, we can't. As a person that was broke as hell, like, I would go to the mall, lose my debit card, and I'd be like, boy, if they buy something on there, they practicing, nothing's on there, right? Go ahead. I'm not even gonna call it in, right? We have to have one collective thing, just like how we support Lil Baby and QC, shout out them, right? We have to get behind one movement of investing in one asset class and then move. That's why I say it's not real estate or stocks, it's both. But if we keep fighting about why, and systemic racism is the issue, we get that. That's the umbrella that covers everything, right? But what is the one action that we are going to take tonight to then say, I'm going to work my ass off, and then now I'm going to have my friends and family, and you guys see us do it every week. This is why I give away this information for free. When every hedge fund on earth that I talk to is like, why do you still do the show? Because I'm Black.
Yeah, but that's why I don't even want to discount the one action that people haven't taken. I think they have taken action by being here tonight.
Absolutely.
I think you got 76 to 8,000 people, 13,000 people tuning on Monday when they could be doing anything else. When you got on Valentine's Day, what they do, right? Why you sipping that Don P? Sorry, Ace of Spade. Oh, why you sipping that Ace of Spade? You're watching this. So the first part is that we're educating ourselves and we are coming together, right? Like, we're together right now. Yeah. We're having a conversation. The King Arthur's part of this conversation, but every Monday that people are here.
Well, this is
the first step.
And I like this conversation because it's more intellectual than just saying, "Oh, that's not true. They're lying." He's actually bringing up valid points, 100%. And he's actually backing up information, and it actually makes sense.
It's on both sides.
And another thing that he said that makes sense is there is a disconnect between the upper echelon, a lot of the upper echelon wealthy Black people, and the vast majority of and this is why EYL has really excelled to the level that it has excelled, because we created a ladder for having high level conversations for the vast majority on the people. Mm-hmm. And that is something that there is, even to this day, we won't name any names, but we'll talk to, you know, people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars and they're Black and they have a different level of the way that they, you know,
understanding.
A different understanding.
There we go.
A different understanding. So that's a real problem.
It is.
But the problem, I think, the reason why I think that is because they're so disconnected. It's like Lil Wayne saying that there's no racism. I don't think that the reason why he said that there's no racism is because he's been a star since he was 11 years old. Mm-hmm. He's not really Black. He's Lil Wayne. It's like OJ. They said OJ wasn't Black. Oh, he's OJ. He got like 30 tattoos on his face. Like anywhere he goes in the world, everything stops for Lil Wayne. So he's like, the way I'm getting treated is royalty. I can't, if I'm getting treated like this and I'm Black, how can there be racism?
Yeah. And I mean, those comments he's basing off of the people who he sees in front of him, the people who come support him. That's his world.
It's a disconnect.
That's his world. I mean, that's the world.
Also, when you're a half a billion up and, you know, and you're around every single person doesn't look anything like you, then you can start to have a certain disconnect and disdain. That's a real conversation. You can have a certain level of disdain for your own people because you're like, oh, you didn't work hard enough. Pull yourself up by the same rhetoric that's been run. Because now you start to actually believe it yourself because you don't really look at yourself like that. You look at yourself like you're above the rest of these people.
But that's why I said this is a financial revolution.
But I'm just saying, right? It's still a beginning stage.
It's still being said, but that's what I'm saying. We live by that, right? There's more people that are like us than are sitting up here. And no disrespect to anybody who wears the suits and ties and bow ties.
People use the race card when it's convenient. Like you'll see Clarence Thomas talking about being Black when he was going through that case. He hasn't said anything about being Black since.
But back to the Wayne point. The other side of it too, Wayne is an asset to a music entity that still believes in the slave model. That's why. So it's the only industry where your intellectual property is called your master's, and we openly are going to take it from you because now you are a slave. At the time, Wayne could put out his own music. That had nothing to do with Birdman. Who releases music on behalf of Birdman? Let's go there. Universal? My favorite quote from Dick Gregory, who runs Universal. Mm-hmm. Godfather, right? My favorite quote from Dick Gregory is, "It's not the crabs in the barrel that causes the fight, and it's the hot water that is poured on top of them." The reason I have an issue with some of these conversations, go look. These were planned in 1983. I gotta give her credit, and Charlamagne said it too on his podcast. See, Dolores Tucker and all them back in the day, they were really right about how to use rap to misinform us. Once again, we're the only community where the music is our primary educational platform. That's a mistake. But who designs that? And now we get a chance to sit into the meetings and see some of the planning. It's going to get worse.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
It's not getting caught up in a beef conversation. Same way, like the other day, it was 26 years since All Eyes on Me was released. Damn, we're getting old, right? But these conversations were created in the same way that East Coast, West Coast narrative got pushed by Vibe and all them. These talking points that got brought up, because look, they were not there prior to 1958. Go look. There's a person that studied advertising since the 1400s. This shit was planted in our community. Even what we argue about.
But there's a few dudes every generation that wasn't supposed to make it out and decode the matrix. And when they get to speaking, it's like a spoken language, right? And so that's our role. Like we say, everybody got a role. We're going to do this. But the people that are listening right now, the people that are watching, people tune in, they got to roll in it too, right? They got to spread the message. They got to feed what they've learned to the next person. And that's why I said it's more of a revolution, right? Because there's more people that's going to be like us that can relate to us. And so when they see us ascend, they not only are they watching us ascend, they're ascending with us rather than saying, look how far he can go or look how far she can go. I wish I can do that. Now we all rising together. You see what I'm saying? So I agree with you, Ian. That's a great point.
Yeah.
All right, let's get one more question in. Arthur, that was excellent. Thank you.
King Arthur's court, y'all.
Well done.
Thank you.
Wait, really quick. You let King Arthur go? One really quick point.
Stay.
Frank, go ahead.
King Arthur, you still there? One quick point. Great points about grocery stores and auto companies, but a grocery store is a really thin margin business. Like a 4 or 5% margin is amazing for a grocery store. That means it's easy to fail. It's a really hard business to succeed. You got to keep putting toilet paper on the shelf. It costs money to truck it in. It costs money for the person to put it on there. I mean, it's a very intense, hard to make money business. And then the auto business is on the other side. You know what I mean? Like it's a big CapEx, capital expenditure business. You got to create a factory to create a car. You got to do research and development for a few years. So those two things are just on the opposite end, but two very difficult businesses. Like, and I'm just throwing out an idea. I don't own any businesses. I'm full disclosure. I don't own a business. I don't own like a plant to do this, but a lotion company would be just a natural fit. It's a very low entry to get into the business. Who doesn't use lotion? And if we all made, or you all came up with a lotion and told all your followers use it, what would be the difference between this lotion and the other lotion? All lotion does the same stuff.
Shea
I understand what you're saying.
That's like Shea Moisturizer. What's it? Carol's daughter. Carol's daughter. But they sold their company.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely agree with you. The contention I would make with that is that when it comes to personal care, while they talk about when they talk about how much we spend on those things, personal care, clothing, and those times they'll state the raw number, like the dollar number. However, we spend less than 3% of our spending on those things. So even if we spent every single dollar that we did on personal care and on clothing, that would be 3% of our total spending that we would be able to capture. I think to our point, I think to your point, obviously transportation is very difficult because the CapEx is very high. Food is very difficult because it's a thin margin. However, what we're talking about is a very difficult situation, and we're going to have to take a major risk if we want that major change. And the only people who are in the position to take that major risk, even though I don't want to, like I said, it's not about picking. They're the ones who are most in the position to be able to take that major risk are those with the most money. You know what I mean? And so the easiest spot, I think, is real estate. That's the easiest and obvious place to be able to do it. To be able to capture our money. And also that's where we still spend the most of our money. You know what I mean? And in addition to that, the US government gives the Black community $10 billion every year in housing vouchers. $10 billion. And the overwhelming majority of that goes to Black women. You know what I mean? And however, I think maybe less than $2 billion of that gets captured back into our community, in large part because those of us who do own the housing that can rent are reluctant to rent to their aunts and cousins.
I give a very obvious answer that most people don't think about. I talk about tech all the time. Building a tech company does not cost as much as you think to get an MVP. I'll say that. I want to go into much deeper detail, but I want to get another question in. But I will say, for those of you that are promoting brands, and go look to see what a scalable MVP costs if you get it built. Let's just say in Australia. It does not cost as much as you think. I'll say that. But we have to have the courage to stop going for low-hanging businesses and low-hanging fruit and go for the businesses that really matter if you want to be free.
And when you don't know what to do, you do what you know. And that's one of the things with businesses. Like, we know how to do a barbershop. We know how to do a restaurant. We know how to do that. And that's something that we've seen. We haven't really seen too many high level tech companies that have taken off. So that's why exposure, that's why we're at EYL this year, we're highlighting tech companies so we can actually give that, the information, but also the exposure.
We just got to see us.
Because you're right.
Yeah.
But, part of that is the exposure. The other part of it is information. The other part of it is relationships. The other part of it is capital. So,
the biggest part is execution, because people execute the capital. So I'm going to come back on the rant side real quick. Build faster. You guys know SoundCloud, Apple Music, Netflix, Hulu, OnlyFans. Build. For those of you who don't have dates, enjoy. Keisha's not going to see you tonight at 12:30. She's not. She's busy. Go build some tech and quit talking. If you really want to be free, and for those of you in Atlanta, this part I love Atlanta, especially those of you from there, shout out Dom, is a warrior spirit. LA, Bay Area warrior spirit. Quit talking about it. We're the only group of people on earth that talk about our community problems on open platforms. The answers to go fucking build. I didn't like the commentary that I saw in the market, so I approached it. These are the ones to invest in. These are trash, so it's very clear. These are the prices. If it don't work, I'll give you my money. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. Nobody did that prior to me. Excluding nobody. Go build.
Yeah, you have to build. And I think that's, if you look at EYL, right? We built the media company. So, but we also have to have a certain level of understanding, compassion, and we have to, we have to have a certain level of empathy too, because people have been beaten down for a long period of time mentally, and people don't have confidence. So part of having one of the major parts of education is that it gives you confidence. You're not really confident if you're not fully educated. So this is why we created a platform to actually educate people so they could become more confident. And then with that confidence, then they can execute.
In the words of hey Frank, you're gonna learn Frank. In the words of the great Beanie Siegel, stay low and keep firing.
Yeah, what's your reply? So you have your hand.
Wait, stay low, keep firing.
I thought he was like catching the word.
No, he's I thought he was catching the ghost right there.
I thought you was catching. Got a question for you, right? Last one. If we're playing against Rock Nation, and we got a Red Panda EYL hoop team, and you pass me the ball and there's 3 seconds left and I let the clock run out, are you going to have compassion that I lost us the championship? You're going to make the face, right? So if we're in dire straits and we're down to our last 3 seconds, there's no room for compassion. There was room for compassion with Jesse them, Martin them. There's no room for compassion now. We're damn near on death's doorstep. Quit playing. They can be the nice guys. But when you walk into these rooms, shout out Promise. Go look who Promise it. He building what that he's going to launch is going to destroy the financial industry. Brother like us, I say, hey, what you do to build it? I paid for it and built it myself. I worked on it for 6 years. What advice you got for people who really want to build? He said, people that really want to build don't need no advice. It sounds cute. That sounds cute in them comments. Oh man, we need to be soft on each other. There is no room. If you have kids, fellas, you have a woman, look at your woman and ask her right now, do I got enough money for you to never leave me? It ain't about the money, but ask. Heart. That's why they like them rants, because they know I'm doing what I'm talking about. There's no room for compassion. No room.
Ian, man, I gotta firmly disagree, man. Listen, I gotta firmly disagree.
Mike, cut this up.
Respectfully,
bring Arthur back too.
Raise your hand, bro. No.
I gotta raise my hand. My bad. Hold on.
I'm just joking.
No, go ahead. This is good.
Real quick, Ian, man. A man makes money. Money can never make a man. That's not.
I agree, but we need capital in order to help build each other. My main thing is, if you know 10 people that need help, we shouldn't go to a bank. They should come here. That's why every week I'm like, hey, even people like, hey, I need help on my pitch deck. If the product is good and we have enough money, we should be able to fund our own things.
Yeah, but I mean, that's could, would, should. There's a lot of reasons why some of that's not happening. Some of it is our fault. Some of it's systemic. Some of it's just America, man. Like, everybody can't be rich. Capitalism creates inequality, period. We enjoy the fruits of capitalism. Like, I got a great phone right here, man. This is capitalism. I can watch movies on it. I can text y'all. My computer crapped out. I hit y'all with a text in 2 seconds. Y'all saw the message 2 nanoseconds later. That's capitalism, but some of that is also inequality. You got to understand that's part of it. Every time you buy a stock and it goes up 20%, somebody else sold it and they lost the opportunity to earn that 20%. Another stock went down 20%. It's the ebb and the flow of things. I think what you're saying is we're not playing on a level playing field. And why are we not playing a level playing field? There's multiple reasons. Are there things that we can do to try to level it out a little bit? Absolutely. My man, King Arthur, he was like, well, it's only 3% if we spend our money on personal care products, but it's 3% of $1.6 trillion. And if we own it, it's also a high margin business. Lotion has incredible market up, I would imagine. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm just going to imagine it's some juices, some water, and some aloe in there. You know what I mean? So I can't imagine there's a lot of high input costs, but that would be a start. We got to start places. Like, I got my lady's flowers behind me. I'm gonna be honest. I did not buy them from a black.
Well done.
I wish I would have. Yeah. I should have. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep it realer with you though. When my mom passed away, I did buy flowers from a black florist. I went to a black mortician because that's how that girl was. You know what I'm saying? She told me, we don't spend our money where we're not welcome. We don't spend our money where people don't appreciate. You know what I mean? Period. And I really try to live my life that way. It can be hard to always go to black businesses just because that's just how life is. And we all have fast-paced lives. And there is no black cell phone company. And there is no black ring light maker. I got a ring light right up here. But if you try, it makes a difference. It's small steps.
I'll say this in closing, and with you being from Philly, I think as powerful as we are as consumers, I want us to stop being fiends for other corporations and be investors. I think it's crazy that we helped build the career of Beanie Siegel, Meek Mill, Ludacris, Tupac, Biggie, shout out to everybody at Def Jam. Don't change my meetings because of Redman, LL Cool J, Lil Baby, The Baby, Gunna, and then the fans who helped make these people get none of the money. So I just want us to switch from being fiends for consumerism to investors. I may not deliver it in the most polite way.
Wait, did you buy that Nas NFT? Were you one of those people?
Mm-mm.
I mean, that would have been a way to get some of the royalties. I don't know if you're an NFT believer.
I am, and I am. I'll say that. Shotty, I called it.
Thank you.
And being from Philly, man, speaking of, man, like on a real, man, dude, I used to pray for times like this, to rhymes like this. I had to grind like that, to shine like this. You know what I mean? Like,
flip that up.
This took a minute. I'm with you. This didn't just happen overnight. I started out in Fairbanks, Alaska. So trust me, this did not happen overnight.
That's legend. That's actually legend. Frank, this is actually a very, very fun conversation.
Incredible,
man. It was dope to have so many different perspectives. Arthur came in with an MVP performance. That was
he's earned himself a Market Monday.
That's Lou Will right there, man. He came off the bench firing.
Yeah, exactly. Like Vernon Maxwell.
He thought he's back at GW. Go watch all this highlights. Boy. Everybody get busy with the left.
20 off the bench. That was an amazing off the bench performance. But I think it's important to have these level of conversations because it's like, ultimately we may not, agree on everything. We may not have the same delivery, the same message, but we all want the same thing. We all, are in it for the same purpose, and we all have different roles to play. Like you're in media as far as like relaying the information on CNBC as a news correspondent. We have, the media company where we have like the podcast that we're delivering. Ian has, investment institution where he's helping people as far as learning about investing and stocks and things of that nature. And, it's different people have different roles to play, but we can only really achieve the level of success that we want if we all work together. So we all have to work together. I can't forget Janet. Janet is the head of EYL University, and she is everything as far as everything that we need done, and just a brilliant mind in the space of finance. And I'm sure she will be a legend in her own right in years to come.
So, is a legend.
Yes. Yeah, we got to include our Black women, man. We always got to include our Black women.
Very important. Yeah. Very important. So, it's just collaboration. And I feel like this episode was, really about collaboration. It started off with, talking about some discouraging news, but I think it ended up with, really talking about some ideas and the different ways where we can actually improve the situation.
Yeah, I think just a change in the conversation changes the narrative, changes the overall outlook. And I feel like that's what happened tonight, right? Because it was like, oh, these things are negative, but like, nah, if we look at it from this lens, we can see there's some positives here. There are some things that are actually happening right now that we got to give ourselves credit for. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do. And yeah, we can't waste any time. We said that over the past month or two, but there's some positive things happening. Like everybody, like I said, everybody that's here tonight is a part of that process. Frank, I want to add something to your bio. EYL contributor going forward.
Oh man, throw me in, man. Seriously, man.
Done.
I'm in the G League waiting for the call up at all times.
No. You all star already.
Yeah. Yo, real quick, man. But before I go, I got to throw out some shout outs. Number one, I'm gonna shout myself out. Like follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Frank CNBC.
What's your Instagram?
Frank CNBC. It's easy.
Easy.
Frank, I work at CNBC. It's not more complicated than that. Follow my man, Papa Oso 215. He actually created the first all-female sports talk show on CBS Sports.
That's fire.
And he does a lot of diversity things for not only CBS. He puts a lot of information out there. Grew up together. You know what I'm saying? We actually went to that private school I was telling you about together. One of the brightest people I know. He's my wartime consigliere. You know what I'm saying? And it's always wartime. So I got to hit him up and ask him for advice. And then on the CNBC side, my man John Ford, tech expert. If you want to learn about tech, follow him. Brilliant mind when it comes to tech. You want to talk about your personal finance, another person y'all should have on, Sharon Epperson. Excellent.
Yeah, I'll be trying.
Very knowledgeable. And like, before I go, man, I got to shout out to the news, man. Always to the news. Yo.
Shout out to the frats out there.
Yeah, shout out to the frats.
Yes. Frank, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. We definitely got to stay in contact. Whenever you want to come back on, just let us know. And thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean, next time y'all at Lenny Kravitz's house, man.
Yes.
Yes.
This that Red Panda Anthem.
what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. Your boy going up.